So what newspaper article, or is there like one online, or you just do our own?
You can either like look one up online or like,
I
just
just
check
this
it out.
one, so.
What did you
Okay,
do?
so I'm gonna start with questions you got on the homework. I know you wanna do number 4, so I said we started at number 4.
Are we just like aiming to turn in all of our homework by like the end of this week? Since it's gonna be break.
I would say get through 2-4 by the end of this break. Okay, because we'll start doing 2-5 tomorrow, or today, if we're not having stuff. But, I don't know, did Ms. Draper say anything about that before? Like homework turning in?
We're supposed to have 2-3 do like 2 weeks ago, I'm pretty sure, but nobody had a clue.
I should probably know this one actually looks like.
She hasn't emailed us.
I literally just talked to him kind of. He's always really late.
I think that's the best I've ever drawn a graph in my life.
Yeah, I'm just-
That actually like almost looks like the book.
I'm not quite sure it is in there.
Okay. So we're trying to find whatever delta is in this case, but it doesn't tell us what delta is, okay? So we don't have anywhere to begin with, but we do know that this is our equation, and it hits at these points right here perfectly. Okay, which tells us that we know x squared. I don't know what value I'm gonna put in, but I know that I was gonna have to equal a half. On this part right here, if I put in 1 squared, that gives me 1, is that true? Yes. So you know on the other one, I don't know what this number is, but I know that's gonna give me 3 halves. Right? Now, since these are dealing with the boundaries, when we solve these, then we'll be able to pick the minimum value, which will give us what our delta is. Okay, so how would I solve this problem right here? How would I solve x squared? Okay, so square root of a half. Now, what do we know about delta and epsilon? Those numbers are always what? Positive, okay? Because they're the distance away. It's like your error, okay? So I don't have to worry about the negative when I solve this. So square root of 1 is 1, square root of 2. You can rationalize this if you want to. Let's go ahead, just because it makes me feel better about life. Okay, now what about the other one? What about x squared equals 3 over 2? How would I solve this one for x? Same thing, right? Square root. So square root of 3 over square root of 2. And I rationalize it. Get square root of 6 over 2. Okay? So these are possible x values. This is my inequality that deals with delta. I need to find what these values are. So I need to do the absolute value of square root of 2 over 2 minus 1. And I need to do the absolute value of square root of 6 over 2 minus 1. Okay, now when you're doing minimum, you're doing the smallest, so we're going to take the minimum of whatever these two numbers are. Okay, and I rounded to, I think I did 2 decimals or 3 decimal places. I don't know what Mr. Abraham has a specific, did she tell you?
Well, we're not allowed to use calculators in class, so,
We're allowed to use them in classes, no.
well, yeah, but
Okay, so,
she doesn't.
these don't come out perfectly, so we're just gonna use calculators.
Just so the tests don't have like,
They would have like 4 and 3. Okay? Or 1/2 and 5, something like that. Okay? So I take square root of 2 over 2, subtract 1. Okay, I get negative 0.293, but since it's absolute value, this would be 0.293. Okay? Then if I did square root of 6 over 2, subtract 1, I get 0.225. Absolute value is still 0.225. Okay, and I want to take the minimum because trying to find the smallest error possible. So which one of these is the smallest? Okay, so that would be your delta. Do you have other questions as you're working on the homework?
Is that it on that one?
Like you don't have to do anything with the then x squared minus 1 or
No.
Why did you use that X word at the beginning and pull the one out?
This is my function. Okay. So that means that whatever this x point is, my y is 1/2. At this x point, y is this. At this x point, y is that.
Okay.
Okay? Because if you don't know what those values are, the only way you can find those values is to set it, to make the equations.
so the answer is 0.225 because it's the smallest out of the
It's a
two.
small cell too. And all you're trying to find is the binary number delta that works. Like number 1 is similar, but they already give you what the values are on number 1.
So just
So you didn't have to find it, you just had to be able to find what the minimum is.
So on the test, are they gonna give us a graph to go with it, or are we gonna have to do it based off of the equations and the?
I'm assuming you would probably get a graph, like this part, and then you would get ones that are like find the delta and epsilon, just like, I mean, I assume it would be very similar to what your homework is.
number 1's answer was 0.1, right?
0.1, right, so it would either be 0.3 or 0.1, but 0.1 smaller. So you go with the 0.1.
So what do we do to show our work on that one, since you basically just have to look at
Well, I mean, actually what I did, I don't know exactly what she'll require, but if we know that, so If I know it has to be less than 0.2. That's not 0.2, that's 0.8.
I do too.
Sorry.
I wrote down there.
Okay? So if I know, okay, well, let's start. I didn't show the stuff that you might wanna see. I got rid of the 1 and put it like this. So I know that my f of x has to be between 0.8 and 1.2. Okay, and that's true if you look at your graph, was it 0.7 and 1.1?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So if this value was where the limit post was at 1, these are my two things that have to be true, then the absolute value of 1 minus, well, if I go consistent, f of x, so 0.7 minus 1, absolute value of that is 0.3. 1.1 minus 1, absolute value of that is 0.1, and you're gonna go with a minimum of those, which is 0.1. Other questions right now, 2 for homework?
I don't understand that.
So if you're doing your functions, I don't have the original problem. Where did it go?
But like if this was on the test and they gave us like the graph and stuff, we could just kind of show like how we found our answer on the graph probably, right?
I would just show by finding those numbers and putting them in to this function, right here. Because you're trying to find delta,
So we
okay?
just put 0.3 and 0.1 in for x.
No, I didn't put point there, I put 0.7 and 1.1. Because those are your
To
values.
find 0.3 and 0.1.
Those are your x values, yes. I'm not gonna do a very good job drawing this. Thanks. That better? So this one already gives me what my x values are, like your air distance. You don't know what the function is, so like we knew what the function was on this one. So we knew when we plugged in these values what we were gonna get for y. We don't know what f of x is. So we know whatever f of x is, when we put in x, we know it's gonna be between here and here. That's what this is telling us. So we know when we put in 0.7, we're gonna get 1.2. When we put in 1.1, we're gonna get 0.8. But we have no idea what f of x is. But we can still find whatever delta is since we have our x values. So you just put 0.7 in this function for the x value. So 0.7 minus 1 is still gonna go in here, and that's gonna be whatever I find. It still has to be less than what my delta is, which is why we choose the minimum value. So negative 0.3, which would be 0.3. Then my other x value, 1.1, is 0.1. And we chose this one for delta because it was the smallest one. Okay, so you don't have to know what the function is. I know you guys want to always know what it is. You just have to know, be able to find what this is, if they'll give you this equation. Okay,
So you just plug the x's into it, right?
yes. I know sometimes it's hard for you guys to know, to not know what, like, I know you wanna know what this is, okay, but you're not always gonna be given that. That help at all? Well, whatever.
Do you think just putting that information down there would be okay?
Yes. So here's, okay, why did I do this? Is that what you're asking maybe? Okay, well, I needed to prove, like, that these actually come out as those numbers. Because if-then statements say, the only way this can be true is if the first part is true, has to imply that the second part is true. So what I did here was I just proved that this is true, because these numbers match up on that graph. Okay, that's all this was proving those are gonna be my y values. The actual finding delta part, you only need your x's because it's gonna go into this inequality. I'm just proving an if-then statement. Which is like the whole precise limit. It's like, I know you don't like proofs, but that's what doing a precise limit is just proving it for delta and epsilon. Is there any other ones from the homework you wanna see right now? We can do some tomorrow if you're not ready, it's fine.
That's the one after 60.
17.
No, the one that is.
I kind of want to try to do it like on my own.
You wanna try on your own?
Yeah, and then like,
That's fine, we can go
because
over
I-
questions like tomorrow or Thursday. Okay, let's plan to have 2-4 turned in Friday before break. Will that be fine?
yeah,
And then maybe 2-5 could be due right after break. I'll just tell her that's what we decided.
because we only have 5 left of this,
I've taken 40 days.
because there's only like
Yeah, you have,
Eight.
we did do it, can we do 16 together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have 5 problems, 17, 23, 24, 30, 33. I honestly think you're gonna be okay. 24, I think you'll have a question on. And probably 30 or 33, one of the two. Or maybe both, but try them, see what you can do.
Do you think she's gonna give us like the precise definition of the limit, or is that something we need to memorize? Because we need it for all these problems, right?
Mm-hmm. I think, I'm gonna doubt she'll give it to you, but I think the more you use it, the more you, like, you'll just know like what number goes in which spot. I don't know, I could be wrong, but like, I didn't have it memorized, and by the time I got to number 30, I didn't have to even look at anything, like, I knew what numbers went where. So. Okay, you guys ready to talk about 2-5 then? Or we start talking about 2-5? I think you'll like it better than 2-4.
Well, I don't think it'll take a lot much. Or a lot.
A lot.
I kind of hope,
Do you want that?
No, it's very not.
this is gonna be a bold statement, so I don't know if I wanna say it out loud. I kind of hope I'm still teaching you guys when we do derivatives, because I really like derivatives, but I kind of don't want to teach you.
I'm just saying, I don't like everything.
Actually, she says that every
What did she say?
Just because my mom taught it to me like when I was like 4, so she could bring me into like all of her college physics classes and be like, ooh, professors, look at my child who knows calculus.
What'd she say?
The derivative of e to the x is e to the x. I have no clue what it means.
That is true, the derivative of x is e to the x.
And she's asked me, like, what's the derivative of e to the x, like, my entire life. So I don't think I'm ever gonna forget that.
Are we gonna be using that?
Yeah, that is one of them.
Yay.
In 2.5?
No,
Thank goodness.
2.5 is about continuity. How you know if a graph's continuous or not continuous.
Is it 2.6?
No, probably not until like chapter 3, when you get to your differentiation.
When you had us do tests last year, was it over like 3 sections? Or was it over like every section of one chapter?
Last year,
Yeah.
I did like 3 to 5 sections combined. This year I had to change it up because I use rules. So this year I'm only allowed to give 3 tests.
3 tests.
Is that answer what?
First semester, yeah.
So you just have to like cram
Is that the definition of definition?
The definition of continuous, sorry.
I wrote that, but I was like, I'm just really dumb. I don't understand. So hang on.
Sorry.
I wrote
Definition of continuity. Yes, IU has specific rules. Okay, well, number one, they only meet like twice a week. Well, when you go to college, you only meet 2 to 3 times a week for one semester. And their weeks are what, like 18 weeks total. So what you're learning from August to May, they fit into 18 weeks. So they give a test like every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks. That's not abnormal. Then if you take out like fall break, Thanksgiving break, it's even less than that, it's like 16 weeks. Okay? You guys are thinking like the whole course of the year, that's a lot. So when I do my pre-calc, like what I'm doing is I'm quizzing over every 3 to 5 sections, and then we have our test after like 3 to 4 quizzes, and then I just pick the most important things from it.
So have they had, like I know that they were talking about one yesterday, was that a quiz?
That's a quiz,
Okay, because they were all flipping out and like, because
and they're not taking it till today. Well, some took it yesterday, I gave them the option.
I was thinking they had another, like a test, but.
That's good. They've only had 1 test, but they've had 3 quizzes. It's just like what you guys did. It's just I have to name them different things.
So like our our tests are their quizzes.
Correct.
So they're technically taking a test, it's just called quiz.
Correct.
Okay.
And then they have to take an even worse test than what we took.
Not really, because then I just, like, when you would take a quiz or a test over that, I just put all the other important stuff in there, and then, okay, like, you guys took a test over 1.5 through 110. They take a test over chapter A and chapter 1 together, but they didn't do a quiz over 1.5, 110. So half that test was that stuff, and the other half was like stuff at the beginning of the year that was like the most important, like factoring, quadratic formula, and things that you like use all the time.
But they could go back to their quizzes, right?
Yeah, same directions.
Yeah,
Oh, she could go back.
so. You just kind of get a second shot at it.
Right. They just like to whine and complain, you know. Like what you guys like to
That's how we
do
were.
too.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I heard yesterday, can you please pray for me? I have a pre-calc test today.
I
That
have,
was us last year.
I had
so
like
we
Jesse
can't say
Miranda came
anything.
up, was like, Hannah, can you tutor me? And I'm like, who? Jesse. And I was like, I don't think I remember pre-calc.
I don't remember pre-calc or trick-calc.
It's kind of important. It does help. I remember all the trig because I crammed it the night before the test and studied and got ended up in the end.
Yeah, we were all like so surprised that we had such good grades on the fun. I remember Maddie, yeah, she asked
I
me.
had to get 100% to get a B minus in class.
Okay, so the definition of continuity. So in order for a function, or not a function, function to be continuous, it means the limit as x approaches a of whatever the function is, the limit has to be f of a. Okay, what does that mean? That means if you plug in this number into the function, whatever the limit of this function is, should be like if you put in a for that function, you should get the same answer. So the limit of the function should equal whatever when you put in the value for f of a.
So,
Wait,
like,
So if I said, find the limit as x goes to 1 of x plus 1, okay? And I said that that was 3. That's not true. That's not a continuous function. Because even though it told me the limit was 3, if I put in 1, 1 plus 1 only gives me 2. So f of a is 2, that doesn't match up. So that would not be a continuous function. Okay? So, how do you guys remember it? When you draw a graph, you can't pick up your pencil. That's continuous. So if there's any breaks in the graph, discontinuous. Okay? So, not allowed. Pencil's not allowed to leave your paper ever. Okay? So like, this is a continuous function. This is not a continuous function. Okay?
So you just have to have the answers match up.
For this, that's what I was saying. Yeah, I was just giving an example.
Okay.
Okay? So these are your 3 rules in order for that to be true. F of A has to be defined. Okay, that means when you put in an answer, put in the A value, you actually have to get an answer. Okay, you can't get like doesn't exist or no solution. Okay? Like you can't divide by 0. The limit also has to exist. So if you're looking at a problem, for instance, we'll do an example of this. But if you had your function is 1 over x squared, that limit doesn't exist. Well, as it goes to 0, it doesn't exist. Okay? So if the limit doesn't exist, it doesn't matter, it's not gonna work. Okay? And then the other is just what it said here. Okay? You guys are much more awake at this time than I thought you would be. I'm kind of impressed.
I was definitely not yesterday.
I think
I
it's
don't know if
because
they were
we're,
yesterday, I don't really know.
I
we
feel better.
crashed at 6th period or something.
Yeah, I feel better learning it in, like right in the morning than
Yeah.
7th period. I
Just
just
getting
feel
it over with, like
It's
second
the
hour.
7th
at the
period.
very end of the day.
Yeah.
Second hour calculus, where is that, pre-calculus?
Yeah.
Seventh period,
Seventh
I
I'm
didn't
still
struggle.
falling
I
asleep.
didn't struggle.
Yeah, but we like the people that we all
I would much rather learn and teach in the morning. All my
I'm not a
classes
morning
ready.
person, but.
I'd rather go to school at like 6 o'clock at night until like 11.
Oh, no,
my
I would
goodness.
definitely be asleep.
No way.
I can't even stay until
My
11.
brain's more like active.
I wish I could have seen it till 11.
No, like, I'm serious, my body, like, it doesn't work. Like, I'll have to if I have homework. But I like I have to take like a 15-minute power nap every 45 minutes. So I'm confused with this.
No, if I were going to take a nap, I'm out for the whole night.
I like to get, like last night I took a 20-minute nap and woke up and didn't even know I'm going back to sleep because I couldn't do it.
I'm pretty sure I said it wrong.
No, I didn't. I got home at like 10,
Oh.
and I took a
Yeah, you
15-minute
do have
nap
time.
because I was so tired from the volleyball.
Yes, you do.
Do you guys like your draw for volleyball?
Depends on what team shows up.
Did you win last night?
No.
Peyton Starks, if you're in the building, would you come to the office, please?
If we play like we're playing now, no, I don't like our draw. But if we play like we know how to play volleyball, then we should be okay. Because they lost their setter and a really good outside somebody else. I don't think she was
Everyone root for it.
No, not really. How did volleyball at least?
Oh, 50. How much memory is
What can you not divide by?